Okay, so Peter, Damian, can if you would unmute your mics now. Let everybody introduce themselves so we can begin. The others will join whenever they can.
Hi everyone, good evening. My name is Peter. Thank you for meeting us.
Okay, that was Peter. Hi, Peter. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Tayo.
All right, Damian, do you want to go next?
Good evening. My name is Damilola, and nice to be here.
Thank you, Damian. Ekene, are you there? All right, Ekene, are you there? Can you hear us?
I can hear you. Hi, Taiwo. Hi, everyone.
Awesome. Hi.
Yeah, my network was misbehaving.
It's better now.
It's better now, yeah.
Awesome. So, would you like introduce yourself to the rest of the group? I think he's out.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ekene from my name is Ekene. I'm a researcher and solutions engineer with IPNX Nigeria Limited, and guess I'm so excited to be here to learn Python and see what I can do with it and where it takes me.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks, Ekene. So everybody here so far wants to learn Python, and this is obviously new for me. So the others, I've sent them a couple of messages. They will join. They will join soon. All right. So when they get in, they will introduce themselves, and then we can, we'll just probably just continue from where we are. So, like I was saying, we have a couple of things to talk about. The objectives I posted on the classrooms are, first of all, to get everybody familiar with each other, which we just did. When the others come on board, they'd explain, they'd introduce themselves too. I'm hopeful. Okay, before we go on, a quick note. This is the free version of Zoom, so which means that after 45 minutes, we might need to end it, and if we still have more stuff to say, we might need to do it again. But if not, that would be the end. And we have Sobdochukwu Sobdo coming up now, and Gideon. So as soon as they're with us, they'd introduce themselves as well. Hello, Somto. Anselm, are you there?
Sure. I'm here.
Hi. So before you got here, every other person has introduced themselves: Dami, Ekene, and Peter. Gideon, hi. Welcome aboard. Every other person has introduced themselves. So you and Gideon are going to have to introduce yourself as well. Get yourself, introduce yourself to others so they know why you're here and what you're trying to achieve. But
Sorry, what's the format?
just general. Hi, my name is this, and then add a few things on top.
Okay, I am Somtochukwu Anselm. I'm a creative designer and a product designer, and also aspiring a full stack developer. So I'm here to actually learn a bit of Python. I've taken up Python before, and I dropped it like twice. So I feel this will give me like leverage to actually learn from our guru.
Gideon, are you there? Gideon? Okay, we'll just give him a minute. While it's coming on board, yeah, so everybody has seen the outline. Gideon, once you're ready, can you just send me a message or wave, send a wave or something, and we'll give you the time. So you've all seen the syllabus. I'm very sorry that this took a while to get started. I've been quite busy with a couple of other stuff. So this is like the introduction. It's basically what I'm going to show you about what I think programming is in a general sense. The reason why I'm doing this personally as opposed to sending you materials for this is because the idea of the introduction of programming can be quite subjective. It depends on individual experiences with programming. For me, I started programming, say, year 2, but that was a C#, and then I dropped it for some time and then picked up Python in final year. And so my experience between those times so far has been quite different. You'd see some people tell you programming is this, programming is what they see programming as is quite different from mine. And because you're going to be doing this with me, I'm obviously going to have to give you my own 2 cents about what I think programming is. And then if you feel like you need to do more research, maybe you have some Python mentors out there that you want to talk to them. Be my guest. Obviously, I'm not trying to consolidate rather knowledge. I'm not the emperor of knowledge or whatnot. So first of all, let's talk about programming, the world of programming. Now, I mean, most of us here, some of us here probably already had some experience with programming and either didn't get it or didn't have enough time to get it. I'm going to use myself as an example. Before I go on, sure. If you have any question, probably write it down. There'll be a question and answer session at the end, so you don't forget them. And write them down. You can send them to the chat box. Then we'll get to them when we have the time. Like I said, so programming for me, I started year 2. Now, that was the first course, as you know, I did systems engineering in Unilag, so that was a requirement for year 2. But before we resumed, I joined EDX. I'm sure some of you know EDX, an online platform. I decided to learn programming. And funny enough, it was Python. I had no idea what I was doing, but I saw Python. Okay, sure, let's check it out. And I think I spent 2 weeks and I got really confused. And I dropped it, like, okay, I'm not doing this anymore. And then fast forward to a few, I say weeks where we started year 2, and then Miss okay, our programming lecturer started to teach programming. It started to seem like all of these dots started to connect. And that was where I got my theology that there are 3 categories of people that want to learn programming. There are the people who need the extra push, who you have to take them all the way from the beginning to the end. You have to teach them from the very start all the way to the advanced. I mean, it makes it a bit difficult for them to learn because you need to get somebody that has the time. But then again, you can also learn that way. There's also the people who just need the initial push, and then once you give them that, they can take it all the way to the end. I'm that kind of person, I think. At least that was what I was in year 2 when Misogi gave us the introduction, and I just took it all the way. And then there are people who don't even need any of that. I think they have a general higher IQ, so they have a way of picking up things very easily. I have a friend, his name is Shego. I'm sure some of you know him. It's quite like that. He started learning programming in SS1 and then picked it up from there. So there are different people like that. Now, I assume to the very least, the fact that we all went to Unilag and then most of us went to Unilag, I think. We've had to deal with learning most of these things, most of the courses ourselves. So I believe that once I give you the initial push, you can take it all the way to the end. And so that's what this class is for, give you the initial push. And then by the time I'm done, you have enough momentum to hit the ground running. So the world of programming is pretty hard. Let me put it that way. Not to discourage you or anything, but it has that initial resistance because like it's something new, something that is non conventional. Again, some of us already know this thing, so that's great. For some of us, however, it's going to be a bit trouble. It's going to be a bit difficult rather. But the reason why I'm doing all of this, the reason I'm having a classroom of just 6 people so that if you have any problems, you can reach out directly to me and then I can help you out. But I'm obviously not going to start today we're learning for loops, or today we're learning if and else and then start to teach. No, I wouldn't do that. I'll give you resources, you learn, and then if you have any problems, to reach out to me. So the world of programming, people generally have been doing programming for a very long time. I mean, probably want to go and read up the history of programming on Wikipedia. It has existed for a very long time. It has existed in the most minute forms. So, I'll probably advise you that you will check out the history of programming, see how it begins, because that gives you more insight into what the essence of programming is. And I'm not trying to be a smart person here, but I think there's a particular code that says where the essence of something is not known, abuse is inevitable. So once you know the essence, it keeps you along the track so you don't go off rail, right? And again, I'll try as much as possible to teach you the essence, but if not, there are resources online. Understanding concepts of algorithms and programming. This was something that I had an issue with in year 2. I was trying to teach a couple of my friends programming, and this was something that they didn't understand. everybody had this concept of programming, just get a computer and I start coding. And yeah, there's that initial excitement, we're doing programming. You get to code on the computer and everything. But there was a method that we missed, and I missed it too. But after a couple of programming, assignments, I decided to get it. And that's the concept of algorithm and programming. Before we go on, Obina is here. Gideon, are you ready to introduce yourself? Gideon, whenever you're ready, with Obina. Hi, can you hear us? Are you with us?
Yes, I can hear you. Good
Awesome.
evening, everyone.
Evening. So before you came, everybody introduced themselves. And
Okay.
this is my name, what they're here for, stuff like that. Now you introduce yourself normally. I'll give you the opportunity to do that while I try to get Gideon on.
Okay. All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Obin Ugochukwu. I'm here basically to learn the basics of programming. I've been a long-time enthusiast of it, but meeting Taiwo, I call him TA, is like my mentor when it comes to.
Okay. All right.
So I mean, I'm trying to see this opportunity as he has provided. Nice to meet you guys.
Thank you, Obina. Obina didn't say that he's also a dietitian, so obviously if you need help with that, he can help you with that. And funny enough, Obina and Dami are going to be. I should probably do this after the class. Let's move on. So
right.
Gideon, whenever you have the time, please feel free to reach out to us, to just wave or something. Right. So I was talking about algorithm and programming. Now this is very important because most people see programming. You get the problem and say, okay, I'm diving straight into my code and then start typing. That is a big mistake because most people don't see the difference. And I know some of you probably know my friend Kara. It was a major issue she had trying to learn programming, and that was like a stumbling block. So let's first of all talk about what algorithm is. I told this to many people. One of the reasons why if you learn one language now, you can learn many more and then be good with them is because programming in itself doesn't solve a problem. I've shared this ideology with many people. Programming in itself doesn't solve a problem. Programming is a tool. It's like a wrench you use to lose something. I don't know. You get what I'm trying to say? So, for example, I like to use Facebook or Uber or whatnot. Before these guys came, we had a perfectly good system of how we did our things. If you wanted to get a cab, you go to the car park. If you wanted to hang out with friends, you message your friend, hey, let's hang out, and then you meet up. What technology, as a way of programming, did was that it took it onto like a bigger scale, made it much easier rather, and that allowed. So in the midst of all the coding and everything, the crux of the matter, the solution of that particular problem wasn't programming. It was connecting people, but then you use programming to relay your solution. And so if, for instance, I give you an example, and say, I want you to solve this programming problem for me. I know more than 50% of you are just going to dive into your code and say, print, type, and start typing. I personally like to take time out, try to figure out something called an algorithm. And an algorithm is like a step-by-step process of how you solve a problem. So how do I go from here? This is where we are going. This is where we are. This is where we're going. How do I go from there? Now, I try to write it as much as I can in English. And then when I'm done, I convert it to code. And I like to say this to people I teach. This is something that I said again to my friends in year 2. Once you can write your code in English, what I do, or what I'm going to do in this class, or what my lecturer did back then, was that I'm going to teach you how to convert those English sentences to code. So for instance, let's say a grading system. I tell you that, okay, I have a list of students' CA test scores and exam scores, and I wanted to get their grades based on, everybody knows 70 is A, 60 to 70 is B. I'm sure we're all familiar with that system. Now, it's relatively easy, yes. People are just going to jump into code because that's easy. But if you really want to do it ideally, what you do is you start the thing. The first thing we need to do is get the scores. Now, after you get the scores, you have the CAs and the exams. After you do that, you do an if and else, and then you do this and then you do that. What I then do is, given this set of instructions, and then I teach you for this particular sentence that you wrote, this is how you write it in programming. If, for instance, you say, show the teacher the grade, I teach you that in programming, you use the function called print. If you say, if in your algorithm, there was a part that says, check if the students score 70 and give them an A. I started to tell you that in programming, you use an if and else for that. But before I teach all of this, you should have a general understanding of how to think, which is something that, and I'm sorry to say, thank God none of my year two friends are here. My friends didn't have, they couldn't think. I had to think for them, which was a problem. It made it difficult to teach. I need you to be able to think. When you're given a problem, think about solutions. And that's why I wouldn't advise that when you're done with this, just jump straight into web development or data science and algorithm. There's a very interesting site called Akarank. I'm sure some of you are familiar with it. Give it a minute, let me share my screen. So this is Akarank. What that does basically is like, I think I have an account. Yeah. What that does basically like gives you different questions that you can answer. I'll show you one. Just give me a minute. Okay, yeah, this was one I was doing back then. Problem solving. Right. So look at something like this. Let's look at something like this. This is called complex triplets. Now, obviously, this is a bit too advanced for you, so don't get too carried away by what you're seeing. But before I would do something like this particular Akarank sites provides a lot of resources when it comes to solving problems. I mean, this is one whole module, and there are like 30 different problems there. There are quite a lot of them, and then you can just spend your time working on that. And then Akarank is going to give you the option to learn to use different language. In their opinion, the same problem can be solved in different languages. What is important is that you understand how to solve the problem. Once you do, then you can start to code. You can code in C++, C#, Go, whatever the option is. The most important thing is to understand the problem. So that is like an important thing. And so just as a reminder, when this is done, make sure Akarank is a good friend of yours. You don't have to do it for the rest of your life, but relatively for the first few weeks, you're going to get familiar with Akarank. I have a friend, Kewe again. She's currently in the UK and she's trying to get a job. And she kept saying she wanted to write. So she wanted to start writing projects, like develop this app that she can show us, put on her portfolio and say, I did this. And I kept telling her that, see, this thing that you're trying to do, first of all, try to solve. You understand basic concepts, yes, but you don't understand them well enough to start building projects. In my opinion, you have to familiarize yourself rather very well with the basic concept of programming to be able to do stuff as big like that as that. So if you don't do this, it's a waste of time. And she created a system, blah, 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 blah. Well, I'll tell you how the story ends, but that would be wrong with me. So point is, after we're done with this, Akarank is going to be one of the different, not just Akarank, generally thinking about problems. How do I solve this problem? How do I solve this? It's going to be something you're going to have to learn as you go on. But I'm going to do my part of teaching you how to write code, right? Now, everybody get different between algorithm and programming, right? You don't have to talk, you can just wave or nod. I think there's a smiley something there. You get the difference between Akarank and programming. If you don't, let me see your hands. I'm waiting for reactions. Good. Awesome. Okay, so thanks, awesome. All right, so the concept of programming. Now, like I said, the goal of this training is to make sure that you understand programming generally. Well, there are more to it. Let me see how we all know why I started this in the first place. We started to realize that most tutorials online lack for lack of better words, physical connection to make their services more, effective. So for instance, you go YouTube, you say you want to watch programming tutorials, programming series, and then the instructor, to no fault of his own, is basically just talking to a crowd. And then you feel like, I'm lost in this crowd. There's no blah, blah, blah there, the physical connection there. So the reason why we initially I stuck with 5, but then Anthony came in last minute because, it's also important to him. The reason why we're going to deal with just a small number is to allow me the opportunity to be able to handle individuals personally. I don't want a situation where I get too overwhelmed and then I need you guys, if you have any problem, to be able to reach out to me and then we can have a proper call or whatever to make sure that it's clear, because we're going to be building blocks. We're going to be teaching from this to that, to that, to that. And if you don't understand the block well, it's pretty much clear that every other thing is blue. So we need to make sure that you understand the block. which means that this is going to be a very collaborative thing. There's no competition, obviously. There's no competition. It's going to be collaborative. And the worst case of that is, or the extent of that rather, is that maybe a particular week, some people do not understand a particular topic. We're going to revise it so that everybody gets it again. Now, if you feel like you're confident with it already, then you can just wait for us to get over it. So that's the goal of the class, to make sure that you learn programming, to give you that physical connection as well to learning it and making sure that there are assignment projects, blah, 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 every week, right? I think some of you already know how this class is going to be. We're going to be doing, on Sundays, I'm going to send you materials, like links to probably YouTube videos, short YouTube videos. I don't want you to get lost in them. So say 10 minutes, 40 minutes. You know, for now, I'm not exactly sure that I'm going to see short videos out there. So worst case scenario is that if I don't, I'm going to have to make my own videos myself, which might not be a bad idea. I mean, I've been trying to do that for a while. So short videos, I'll send you that on Sunday. I also send assignments and projects, and a lot of them actually, a lot of them. So for a particular topic, say this week we're dealing with for loops. I send you a material on for loops. I send you, say, 5 to 6 assignments. Now, your job, or your role, rather, your task is to review the materials before Tuesday or Wednesday, depending on the schedule of everyone for that week. If you have any questions as regards the material I sent, you let me know. And then we'll have a Zoom class. You basically send me the questions before that day. And then on Wednesday or Tuesday, whenever we have the Zoom class, I review the questions and any more questions you might have, and then give you some more time till Friday to figure out the assignment. Now, personally, I'm concerned that 2 days in between, you know, Monday to Friday, might not be enough time to complete those assignments. So it might not be as much. Starting out, I might give you a lot, but then as I start to see people's reactions to it, I will obviously drop it. I know some of us work, most of us work, and so timing rather might be a big problem for us. So, you know, do not be alarmed when I say 6. That's a lot. No, I'm obviously going to, you know, trim that down a little. And then when you submit the assignments on Friday, Saturday, we basically review the assignment. Now, this goes to say something very important about programming. It's also something that, again, I told my friends here, so I keep using them as references, which is that programming codes, well, although not thumbprints, they are not as unique as thumbprints, but they're pretty unique in their own rights. So you can have 10 people, right, write code for one problem, and then the 10 codes will be very different from each other. Very different. Excuse me. Now, if you understand me so far, can you review? Because I have a question now, and that would show if you're actually following me. If you understand me so far, can you just wave or react or something? Really? Anybody? If you get me, wave your hand, please, or send a message, whatnot. All right, thank you. Thank you. All right. I'm just gonna assume that everybody do get me rather. If you don't, send me a message. Thanks, I will be there. So the next question is this. I just said that programming questions are difficult. I'm sorry, if you give 10 people the same code, you will likely not get the same solution across board. Now, I have a question. Why is that? I said something earlier in the call rather, about algorithms and programming, big difference. So why is it that if 10 people write the same code to a problem, they would most likely be different codes? Why can't they be identical? If you have an idea, please just unmute your mic or let us know. Somebody else have an idea. Do you want me to call names?
Can I talk?
Yes, you can.
Okay, I think it's because there are so many ways to get a particular stuff in programming, right?
Mm-hmm.
There are so many ways you can go about one particular task. That's why you have many people with different answers. Yeah.
Great. Thank you. Obina, I need you to say what you sent into the chat. I need you to say it out loud, yeah.
Okay, I said because people think.
you say that one more time?
I said because people think differently.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. Any other person wants to give their input? Dami?
Yeah, I still, I'm just agreeing with what they said. So it's just like going from point A to point B. Sometimes you might decide to go to point C, then before you get to point B. So different ways, different implementation. It does not mean like, okay, maybe one is the best or something, but at least it is going to solve the problem at that particular point. Yeah, so. Yeah.
All right. Great. Peter, you have something to say? Peter. So I need somebody to be unconventional here. Sorry, go ahead, Peter.
Yeah, thank you, Taiwo. Basically, they've shed a little light already on it. We all don't think the same way, and definitely that is a very good standpoint. Also, there are different kinds of how do you call it, arguments or different kind of approach, or which people would consider taking. Just like you said, someone can write 10 lines of code to actually arrive at a particular result, and someone can write 3 lines of code. It all just boils down to your understanding, the way you think around your thought process, and how you intend to achieve the result. So it all comes down to individuality. So the tendency of 2000 is very low.
All right. I thank you, Peter. I like the word you used, individuality. I'm sorry, before Peter went on, started talking, I wanted to say something. I like to encourage unconventional thinking. So if you feel like everything we've said so far is wrong, please, by all means, let us know. If you think that obviously each code should be the same. In some cases they are, but then there are obviously arguments for that. So please, if you have unconventional arguments, I would love to hear that. Now, 2 things that were said, 3 things. First of all, exactly how it is in my mind. It was rather in my mind. It's how Obina said it. People don't think the same. That's basically it. The way you think reflects in your code. Now, because people don't think the same, your code is never the same. You'd see, I don't know, some of us are movie freaks, as most of you know I am too. You see movies that we talk about and say, this person's code, there's a signature. Like this is how this person usually codes. So you know the person. Like there's a particular hacker, for instance, and you say when a fellow hacker sees the code, you know that okay, this was the person that wrote it. And that's because of what Peter said, individuality. Yeah, you reflect your own perspective into your code. And I mean, there's probably a whole angle to that, looking at how our own experiences reflect in our code. Probably talk to a psychologist about that. We're not doing that today or ever really. But like I said, there's individuality in your code. Which means that whenever I give you assignments, it is really very, very almost impossible that all of us have the same, which is the reason why we're going to be having the Saturday class. Basically, we're going to go by everybody's assignment. I'll probably not go through everybody's code, but then we're just going to see the major differences in everybody's code, which is why I need to submit on Friday so I can review them before the meeting on Saturday. Do you guys understand what I'm trying to say? Yeah? All right.
Yeah.
So, thank you. So that basically is I think the most part of this. I'm just going to give you a bit of encouragement right now about where this can take you. I know some of you already know that programming is like I don't know, dog now or something. It creates a lot of opportunities as well. Now, I currently am not in Canada yet. Most people think that programming takes you to Canada or to US or whatnot. I'm not in Canada. I'm in Nigeria. I can show you outside my window. But yeah, it's not because I don't know programs, because I am not particularly decided on whether I want to leave the country or whatnot. And if you feel like you have a problem about that, me and you can talk about that outside the class now. Yeah. But yeah, programming has opportunities. I was sharing with a friend recently. While I was in year 4 and year 5, a company called Goldman Sachs, as some of you already know, they come to Nigeria to employ African students and graduates. So I don't think that it's just students. They employ a wide range of people. And what happens is that they have like, I think a 3-day interview process. Basically what they do is they say, okay, On the first day, they bring like, I think almost 300 students, and then they put you into groups, and they're supposed to achieve a problem. They're supposed to solve a problem. Now, that first day, you are not coding anything. You're just thinking through a problem. That's what it is. You and your group members are thinking through a problem. So you see how important some companies really place that problem, critical thinking and problem solving. And so you have that first day to do that. Then the second day, you do something like an interview on data structures and algorithm, which is, I'm hoping, is something that we can go into, maybe not in this class, but like in consequent classes. Now, one of the things I realized, I've gone for the interview about 3 times, 3 years in a row. I never get in. And the reason why is because I never knew data structure and algorithms. I hated them. I hated that particular topic. I mean, I'm going back to them now, but I wish I'd learned them sooner. But I never got it. Now, one of the things I noticed was that there were a wide range of, how would I say now, PSC holders, people in fishery. I think the person who got in last year that went to Japan wasn't engineering related, I think it was in accounting. So there's a general concept of that you don't have to have an engineering background or a science background to be able to know programming. If you're willing to think through your problem, like I said, then you should relatively be good at programming. Ultimately, that's what's most important, thinking through your problem. It obviously doesn't help if you don't know how to think through a solution. I know a lot of people, and probably categorize myself as one of them, that get really tired when a problem is causing so much challenge for me. That's obviously another part of programming that you come to learn. And then some questions are going to give you challenges, and then you have to walk your way through it. Sometimes it can feel like a very difficult thing to do, and you get so tired. You take some rest, you go back at it again. Don't worry, you're going to get used to it eventually. You're going to get used to it eventually. So, like I said, there's a wide range. Goldman Sachs had opportunities for everybody. And it wasn't something that just ended back then. Today, if I want to apply to Goldman Sachs, I can. Like I said, the reason why I haven't is because I'm undecided. But for some of you that want to leave, this might be a good opportunity for you to do that. Goldman Sachs, Morgan Freeman, Bank of America, Microsoft, Google. Let's see which other. There are quite a number of them. I'm sure you can Google them. You want to go on freelancing. I'm currently working for a client in Florida. It's currently in Texas, actually. And programmers will got me there, right? And so programming will open doors for you. Yes, definitely. But this is my own 2 cents. Don't do programming for the money. Yeah, don't do programming for the money. You will lose. The thing is, programming can be challenging sometimes. I've spent about 8 hours on a code, debugging the code. And it turns out that the problem was, oh God, but you get there. So if it was because of money, I would have packed up and said, I'm doing something else. I mean, there are many other ways you can make money. I think I've never really explored them, but I expect that there should be. Not everybody can be programmers. I think that's what Zuckerberg said. So, but don't do this for the money. If you do this for the money, you might be starting on the wrong base here, because it can get really discouraging really fast. And I need you to be sure that even when it gets harder, you're still going to stay. All right. If it gets harder, you're still going to stay. So that's a major side note. Don't do it for the money, but obviously the money will come eventually, but you need to be patient at it. My sister recently that works in MTN wanted to get a job as a programmer, and she asked me to teach her. And well, I told her this, obviously, don't do this for the money and everything. And well, she hasn't disturbed me again, so I guess that worked. So that's pretty much it. Yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say. Okay, let's take a look at the class. I'm sure if you have any questions, you're probably written them down, so you can ask them in a few minutes. If you type them down, you want to send them to me as chat, please by all means do that too. Okay, so I'd say that we've covered most of this. Okay, yeah, the syllabus. Right, so I mean, for any programming language, this is usually where you get to do serious stuff up onto data structures. For every programming, this is everything you need to do to start writing serious code. 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And why do I say that? I told you I started to learn Python in year 5. And what happened was my lecturer, my AI lecturer, then Dr. Bigola gave me an assignment, gave us rather an assignment to write a code for, what was it for again? Yeah, an AI code that can play Ayo. I'm sure you guys know the Ayo game, right? And obviously, I had no idea. I mean, I didn't know AI. I didn't know programming, let alone AI. And so I obviously didn't code AI, but I just coded a normal game. And I wish I still had the code today. I think I wrote about 1,500 lines or so. Before then, the last time we programmed was like a year before. It wasn't Python, it was C#. See what I'm trying to say? If you know one language, you're most likely to pick up the rest. Granted, I learned Python, 2 weeks before year two, sure. But to my fucking unbelief, I was just coding. I mean, sure, I was running into challenges and then I was Googling, but then I would code and I would code and I would write different lines. And then before you know it, I wrote a code that worked. I'd never done Python. Well, I'd done Python, like I said, I've done C#, but it's been a while. Then it came very easy, right? And everything I did was mostly this, up until 6, and it was after that I even started to learn functions and the rest. But everything I used to start to write that code was this. It was much more difficult, obviously, because if you learned if you learned other stuff like all of this stuff, it might make it a lot easier for you, sure. But like I said, for basic stuff, primitive stuff, once you learn this 5, you can. I'm sure some of you have ideas already that you want to blow up, you want to show that I already started learning programming. Once you get there, you can start to get a better sense of how your code is. I'm sure you've already thought about how you want to solve that particular problem you have in mind. By the time you get to module 6 or part 6, you're able to start to see how your code might look, right? So that's the syllabus. Excuse me, let me show that again. Obviously, there's still a lot more, a lot more than this. What I called Introduction to OOP should be a whole thing. Like, should have its own syllabus because it's a lot, and it's a very integral part of programming, any programming language. It's a very integral part of any programming language. So I brought it up here, and then I brought it up here again. And the reason why I did that is because there's a level of object-oriented programming that you learn that will make a lot of your code easier. So a lot of the things you are doing from part 2 up until part 7 can be made easier with part 8 and part 9. So I'll teach you only to that level. I'll send you materials, obviously, only to those levels. But then when we go into this might require, because again, I think this is something that's rather subjective. And you think that it's kind of similar to algorithms where the way you think is reflected in your code. That's kind of how this works. But we'll get there eventually. I'm sure if you have any questions about this, please feel free rather to ask. Once we're done with this, once we're done with the Python syllabus, depending on the progress of this class, I might decide to have a part 2. And actually, there should be a part 2. Let me quickly get that height. So I think there should be a part 2. Let me share my screen so you can see that. Yeah. Yes, this is still, just scattered there and there. There's more on OOP functions like advanced functions, Lambda, and everything. There's dealing with database, APIs, exceptional optimization and algorithm. This optimization is something that I wanted to say, something that Dami said earlier, that it's not like there's a best code. I'm sorry to say, but there is. Usually there's a metric to measure whose code is better. And that's, I'm sure some of you probably know it, and you see this in data structures and algorithms. There are some codes that are better, and that's based on the speed that it takes to run and the resources that you use. There are some codes that if you run right now, your system will basically crash, right? Like to just go off. And there are some codes that if you run like a second day, let me give an example. I didn't think I was going to share a lot of my screens today, but let's open. Don't worry about how this. Don't worry about this. But let me just try something. Import time. Start the first time. Okay, let me have function instead. Range. Let's go to say. I don't know how many zeros this is now. Just say answer. We're going to have an error. say y plus, sorry, y equals I times I, then we bring the time code and minus start seconds. Okay. That should be okay. So let's run tests real quick. So this run in 0.49 seconds. Now, let me make tests a bit more dynamic. Let me make tests much more crazy. Start time for, let's go all the way to wherever. Okay, if you're not getting one, then it's totally fine. Or you don't have to. All right, you really don't have to. So for high, let's go all the way to answer. Results because I times, let's multiply results times I, and make end that prints the final result. Hopefully that is okay. Figured. Okay. That one is 0 seconds. Let's increase the number. 0 seconds. Let's increase the number. Wow. So you see that what's ran is 0 seconds, ran another 0.0 seconds rather. By the time you start to increase, you're using more memories. In fact, let me show you how what my taskbar is seeing, showing that I'm using more resources, performance. Okay. No, let me run the code before. Let me run the shit. I closed it. You know, we'll get more into that later. Let's not get crazy yet. We'll get more into that later. The point is, code uses resources and time, and so there's an optimization factor to your code, which, although like I said at the beginning, I didn't worry about that. Just write your code first, then you can optimize later. So there's an optimization factor rather to your code where you have to manage how much time it takes and space. And frankly, the last interview of my task I went to, that was what basically disqualified me. I was given a problem, and then the guy just wanted to know the fastest way I could solve that. Now that's something that data structure and algorithm will teach you on its own. Like there's a whole course about optimization of code. I never like I said, I didn't do it, but now I have to get back to it. Currently, if you ever decide that maybe after this you want to look into say data structures and algorithm, you can check out Coursera. Coursera has quite interesting courses that are free, and you can even get a certificate from there. I'm just going to show you the one I'm doing. I think it's currently handled by Princeton. Am I joining? I'm logging in now. Excuse me. It's going to take a minute. It's currently handled by Princeton. To learn that, they suggested that I had to learn Java first. So I had to go back to Java. And it was an amazing, I only finished part 1. I've never finished part 1, so I got busy. But Java is also an interesting language. And the fact that I knew C# and Python made it much easier for me to learn the data structure and algorithm. I'm not sure why this is not working. Okay. It made it much easier for me to learn data structures and algorithm, or for me to start learning it anyway. I was trying to send you the link. Sure, my network is just a mess today. Oh, there it is. Yeah, this is it. There are 2. No, this one. Princeton. Okay, yeah, there are 2 of them. There are 2 of them. There are 2 of them. Yeah, the first 2, computer science, programming with a purpose, and this. I'll obviously check some more and then let you know how it goes. If it's the correct one, then I'll share it with you. Okay, so that is mostly what I had to say about optimization. But then as you start to go, you see that there's more you learn: algorithms, shorter code, where you start to learn other languages. Now, this is just basic Python. What you're not going to use your Python for is still another thing. I mean, if you're going to start developing web apps, you're going to develop if you want to start going into data science, you want to go into machine learning, you want to do any other stuff really. This is just going to give you the basics for you to now build on. Every other thing you've been learning is not Python anymore. It's just, for instance, building a web app required, and you know Python requires you to use something called Django. Now, Django on its own, let me see, let me get you like a quick look into its documentations. Django on its own uses Python code, but then the way that it works is quite different from just normal Python. So it's not as similar as, how do I say it now? It's not like the same thing you will learn in basic Python. It's not the same, obviously. But then Django itself is built on that. So if you know basic Python, it's easy for you to know Django. I've seen a couple of people that didn't learn Python and they just went straight to Django. Like, are you kidding me? How exactly are you supposed to survive that? You don't know how to deal with this. You're going to miss. So you get what I'm trying to say. So after this is done, you're still going to learn whatever thing you wanted to use Python for, whether it was data science, web development, and whichever the plan was. And then over time, you start to develop projects. Now, I'm not guaranteeing anything, but if this class goes well, I might actually consider having another class for any of this model. I'm particularly good in web scraping, web automations, and web applications. I don't really like data science. I feel like it's just, with data science, you have to have a very powerful computer because you're dealing with a lot of data and a lot of processing. So your computer has to be really good. Doesn't mean that it's impossible, but especially with the introduction of cloud computing. So that's it. Now, if you think that this class is not for you, there are many other ways to be successful. For instance, we're living in the world where everything is the cloud. There's a whole thing about cloud. I'm sure Dam even knows a lot about that. If you want to find out more, ask Dam. There's Azure, there's AWS. That on its own is a thing. And just as it did inside the facts, that was also something that's confirmed me from Goldman Sachs. They use AWS as their cloud infrastructure. And so they're asking me some stupid questions I had no idea about. I mean, I get them now, but then I didn't understand them. And then you can have certifications on AWS, get certifications on Azure. And so programming is not the only way there. I mean, it's the only way I know. I know there are other ways. But if you feel like you want to do hosting and system administrator, like Ekene, for instance, Ekene is a very good system administrator. I know how many times I ran into problem in my current job, and there's one who fixed it for me, learning Linux. So there are different ways, obviously. You don't have to stick to programming, but I would recommend that you know the basics of programming, like what we're doing here. You need to learn fundamentals. You need to learn how to think. Solving problems, essentially the reason why I'm going to be giving you a lot of assignments per week so you can have time to engage your mind. And just to give you a bit of insight, if I sent you some questions, for instance, I didn't expect it to be coding every time. Personally, I would expect that you first think about the problem from Sunday till Thursday, and then do the assignment on Friday, because that makes it much easier. So you're in your car going somewhere, and you start to think, how is the best way to go about this problem? How's the best way to go about this problem? Take as much time as you need. But the moment you get it, you're just fine. So I think that's it. I've spoken for quite a while. Now we're going to the question and answer session. If you have any question, please mute your mic and ask. I obviously expect that some people would have questions. I'm not that good of a teacher, really. So I mean, it's the only reason why I'm not doing this. So if you have any questions, please share with the class, share with the group, so I can answer them or any other person reading. Okay, Peter. Do you want to ask questions?
No, sorry. I think I'm good. Sorry.
Okay.
That was a mistake.
Obina, do you have a question?
Yeah, it's hi everyone again. It's more like an appeal, if I would say. I don't know about others, okay? I'm basically speaking for myself now. I think you should, because when you were putting on all these codes and talking, you talk quite fast.
I did.
So I'll appeal that you slow down a little, because somehow, okay, I'm speaking for myself. I want you to treat me as a novice, okay?
Okay.
I only started learning what is to code this year, and it's just been YouTube videos. And like you said earlier, these videos don't give sessions for back and forth like this, ask questions, and so we just get lost in the process. So I also want you to at least slow down a little when you speak, so we can always get some things down and also revert like this. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Thank you. I would be more cautious I wouldn't say we should start from the beginning, but I would upload this material to maybe Loom on YouTube and then send it to the group. So if you want to review, sorry, I spoke fast. That was, funny enough, this is a problem that has been there for a while. This is another reason why I don't teach. I speak too fast. So I will upload the material, and then moving forward, I'll try my best, more conscious. And please, if I ever go out of it, just let me know. Thank you again.
All right.
Any other
Thank
person?
you.
Dami?
No question from me. Sorry, we did not offer you coffee. I know you like coffee a lot.
Okay, good one. Fair enough. That's a good point. Maybe the next classes I'll be taking coffee. If I take coffee, I'll be much faster than this. You wouldn't like it.
Wow.
You wouldn't. That would be like super active now. You're a dietitian, you should know. So thank you for that, Dami. Any other person? Gideon never introduced himself. Gideon, do you want to try and do that now? No response yet. Okay, Somto, do you have any question? Sorry, I keep calling you. So, Answer, do you have any question?
No. Maybe not in this class, but I got everything you said.
Awesome. Ikene, any question? I think Ikene might be having. Okay, he's here.
Hello. Hi, everyone.
Hi. Welcome back. No? Okay. Again, is your internet okay? All right. Maybe you could send me a chat, send me a message rather, or send a message to the group, and then we can all see it.
Yes, sorry, my network has been everywhere.
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah.
Okay, yes, it's back now. All right, so I just wanted to get something because I missed out on most of the introduction. You said something about algorithms being steps to solving a problem, and programming like the code itself, or what did you call programming?
Okay, can I quickly write the code? Just a quick one, please. It's not as serious. It's just to give you an idea of what I mean by algorithms. So this is an example of a Python shell. It's something you're going to get familiar with soon. So if I was to write a new code, say I wanted to, somebody gave me a score, or the test score to be, say, 20, and then the exam score to be, say, 40. Now it tells me to write a code to convert this to get the grade of this person. Now, I'm sure you will learn about commenting soon. One of the first steps, this is what I did just now, when you put hash in front of a statement in Python is commenting. So the Python basically scripts it. So I just want to use that to show my algorithm. What I'll first do is collect score values as well, which is what we're doing here. So I can put that here, okay. Collect score values. That's what we have done, right? The next thing would be to add score and add exam and test scores, right? Now to do that, you just basically write something like this. Obviously, this is not entirely correct, but test score plus exam score. The next thing you want to do is check if test score is between 70 and 100. If it is, grade A. Now, I'm not going to write the code for this because this is a bit more complicated, but then the code will go underneath here where you write for that. You can have another algorithm here. So excuse me. You have the next step will be if it's between 60 to 70, then make it B. I think that's B, right? And then you do the same thing again for C, then for D. Now, what you have here, what I've compiled here, excuse me. Let me expand this. Remove the code parts. What I've compounded rather, is now my algorithm. It's like the thing that when you give somebody, they can read and say, okay, this is how to solve the problem, right? Now, for each one, I will now teach you how to collect score values. Obviously, there are different ways to do that, but for this case, for this example, I'll teach you that this is what you need to do. Add the exam scores and tests together. I'll teach you that this is what you need to do. For the next one, I'll teach you what you need to do, you write it. For the next one, I'll teach you what you need to do, you write it. So the kind of English translation of your problem solution, step-by-step process, is what you call the algorithm. Then the code is now basically converting those statements to code. Now, some people, and this is actually a very good programming practice, like to put their processes inside their code. So basically, you have like a Python code where they will do something like, ideally, this shouldn't be here. Ideally, all of this shouldn't be here. This should be a simple code. This is perfectly fine. But then when we put in all of this, so that if we give our script to somebody else, they understand more in depth what we're trying to do here. It's a good programming practice. It's nice, but trust me, not a lot of people keep up with it. So if you can't do it, obviously, no harm, no foul. But it's just some people like to open a new script. Instead of writing it in Notepad, they start to write it in their scripts like this. And then for each one, they'll now go underneath and then write the proper code. Go underneath, write the next proper code, and like that. Ikini, do you understand that? Ikini is maybe off. Any other person have a problem with that? Was that more confusing, or you got it? Ikini is out. Was what we did that for. Okay, but every other person, did you get that, or was that more confusing? Or was I too fast again? Responses, please.
No, I got it though.
Thanks. Obina, was I fast? Obina, was I fast? Obina is away. All right, well, that was Ikini's question. It's currently unavailable. Hopefully when he sees the video, it provides more insight, and if it doesn't get it, it would let me know. So any other questions before we call this, before we end the meeting? Any other questions? Any other questions? All right, if you have any questions, you can just reach out to me. If it's something that I feel like would benefit the entire group, I will try to get every other person to join us. If not, I could just resolve it. On that note, I'll upload this to YouTube, either YouTube or Loom, not sure. Whichever it is, I'll upload and post the link on the group. Take your time to review it. Today is Friday. On Sunday, I'll send you materials and then we can kick off. Right? Take your time to review this as much as ask any question that you want. And then on Sunday, we'll kick off. All right? So, do I have everybody's consent to end the meeting?
Yes. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Thanks, man.
Ikini, we're leaving.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Taiwo.
Of course. Thanks, Peter. You're welcome, guys. Ikini is just joining us, but we're leaving. So, cheers, man.